If you have questions, our live chat agents are available during business hours to assist you, so you can do everything online and save time. That's insurance made easy with BF&M. Visit us online today at bfm.bm.
This weather update is provided by the Bermuda Weather Service, sponsored by BF&M.
All right, thank you, Greg. Currently mostly clear. Tonight's going to be nice weather. Overnight low 63 degrees. Friday, sunny to start with some shower activity later on for Friday. Winds out of the west and northwest. It'll be light to moderate for Friday. Friday's high 71, a low 61 degrees. Now for the weekend, partly cloudy skies with a chance of an early shower, but the rest of the day should be nice for Saturday. High 69 degrees, low 62. All sunshine on Sunday, mostly sunny skies. East and northeasterly winds light to moderate for a nice high 71, a low at 64 degrees. Relative humidity, nice sleepy weather tonight, 64%.
This weather update was provided by the Bermuda Weather Service, sponsored by BF&M.
Thank you to the folks at BF&M and the Bermuda Weather Service.
94.9 Bermuda. Our 95.
And it's now time for Motion to Adjourn with MP Chris Famous and Dwayne Robinson.
And good afternoon, Brother Dawn.
Hey, man, how's it going? We're back again.
Cool. I hear we have a special guest on the line.
Yeah, it's right there. Hey, guy. Are you there? Dwayne.
Hey, sorry, everything cut off for a second.
No. Oh, wakey. Give me that cut off for a second. Wakey. Get cut off for a second.
I didn't hear anything.
Wakey now.
How you doing, Dwayne? Welcome to Motion to Adjourn.
Yeah, where you been?
Well, listen, you got a little one. It's a lot of things, but I've got my schedule now rejigged, and I'm back in it. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Sort that out. I'm back in it.
Yeah, the listeners start to wonder now. It's not I don't know what's going on over there.
Just reorganize.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
Yes, good afternoon to the people of Bermuda. How you doing today? So, as we all know, last week, Friday, after much ado by some people, I won't call no names, Budget 22-23 was read by the Honorable Premier David E. Burt. David Burt. So today we have as our guest MP Joshay Adams, who's going to be speaking to some of the budget highlights and what it means for the people of Bermuda. And I'm quite sure, I'm 99% sure Dwayne didn't show up empty-handed with questions.
You be correct.
Good afternoon, MP Joshay Adams. Welcome to Motion to Adjourn.
Good afternoon, brothers. Good afternoon, Brother Famous and Brother Robinson. How are you guys?
And you got brother Dawn here as well.
Brother Dawn.
Sir, how are you?
Can't complain. How about yourself?
I'm good, thank you.
So, MP Adams, now that the budget has been read, now comes the hard part.
Indeed.
Explaining it to the people of Bermuda.
Sure.
So, as Dwayne and everybody else knows, one of the mandates of the show is not to be partisan. I mean, we have our moments of partisanship, don't get me wrong. But it's more about being informative to the people, asking those critical questions and getting the critical answers. And it's no secret that we have economic challenges like every other country, some more than others. And this budget addresses some of this, to my understanding. So, the floor is now yours to explain to the people of Bermuda some of the highlights of the budget. That's before Dwayne starts to
before he kicks in,
starts sniping.
Fair enough. First, thank you for having me here this afternoon on the show. I appreciate the dynamic, recognizing the both sides of the aisle that is represented on this show. But in reference to the budget, as we know, when it comes to economics, there's many different ways that we can look at it. But for the purpose of the show, I wanted to start with the basic fact that how I'd like to start is with the basic fact that the government has $1 billion of debt maturing over the next 2 years. We do not have that $1 billion.
So what does debt maturing mean?
So, yeah, I was getting into that. So we don't have that $1 billion, and so we must refinance that debt. And so what we're doing and looking to do is borrow some money from a new group of lenders to pay the original group of lenders. And it is also likely, and this is one of the key pieces to the budget, but it's also likely that the new lenders will apply a lower rate of interest than the current group. So when I say debt maturing, effectively, the time is up. We borrowed this $1 billion some time ago, and now the people want that money back. And what we're looking to do is actually refinance that debt. So borrow from another group to pay the debt that is currently being owed. And the reason this is critical is because, and how this ties into the budget, is because when we went out to the markets last, so when we looked to borrow additional funds, amongst other things, we said that we would stick to a specific path towards a surplus, and that we would not borrow any more money. And so if we do not stick to the path towards a surplus, or dare I say, we even look to borrow more money to the markets of lenders that we're looking to borrow this money from, we look like we don't have as much control as we should. We become identified as a riskier investment, if you would, which would result in the rates and the terms of the new lenders to become less and less favorable. That is why it's important that as we prepare to go out into the markets, we maintain solid fiscal management. I know I say all of that to say that as a government, we would love to do more, right? We would love to provide more assistance to those that are in need of it most. We would love to fix all of the aging and deteriorating infrastructure. We would love to provide more funding for athletes and scholarships to students and the like, but maintaining the sound fiscal prudence has to be a major priority because, again, we are due to pay a sum of money that we don't have. And so what we would hate is for the terms of the refinancing to be difficult and unfavorable for the country. And so within this budget constantly is a mindset of how can we do enough or more for our citizens, for the people of Bermuda, recognizing that we have targets that we have to meet.
No, go ahead.
And so ultimately, that's sort of a key piece of framing the numbers, because as much of it is a social element, as much of it is recognizing the signs of the times, and it's not just the individuals, it's the businesses and the charities and the nursing homes and the like, all of which everyone and their overall way of life has been impacted by COVID. And so as a government, we would love to, or we are demonstrating that we continue to look for opportunities to provide said relief, but keeping in mind that meeting our targets has to be a significant priority. And so it's finding that balance that is always key in terms of writing and putting together a budget for the next and upcoming fiscal year.
Okay.
But if I just want to add one thing, I would say that all is not lost. I think it's important that the listeners understand that the government, the last fiscal year, came $60 million under budget. We are projected to come $7 million under budget this year, and that is also considering the fact that the impact of COVID lasted longer than any of us had anticipated. If we look at the latest national economic report, there are also signs that demonstrate that the economy is starting to turn the tide. Certainly not as fast or as much as we would like, and so as a government, we recognize that there is still much more work to be done. But it still doesn't negate the fact that last year GDP was up approximately 4%. Our visitor spending was up. I believe it was 78%. New construction was up. Jobs in the IB sector. And the key takeaway for that is that increase in jobs in the IB sector, the majority of that was Bermudians. Our inflation rate remains relatively stable when you look at the full gamut of statistics. And so we're proud of the progress and the policies that we've put in place, the impact that it's had on our economy, but certainly recognize, particularly with our employment levels being where they are, that more work needs to be done. And so we'll continue to do the work. We'll continue to focus on deliver on our economic recovery plan with the overall goal to get us to a surplus where we can begin paying down our debt in 3 years' time.
So thank you for that synopsis. Let me ask a question before Devine. I know Devine is rubbing his hands right now. But let me ask a question. If my memory serves me correct, if you take your mind back to 2 years ago, you were not an MP at the time.
No, it was not. Yeah,
but you were part of the machinery.
Mm-hmm.
We were in position, if I'm not mistaken, to actually pay down a significant, well, I won't say big part, but a portion of our debt, were we not?
Absolutely. Now, you said to me we were going to keep it, we wasn't going to get partisan, but the fact still remains, absolutely, that...
No, it's just economics. It's not a political question.
Understood. When we first came into government or returned to government in 2017, we immediately reduced the deficit by 62%, if I'm not mistaken. The previous year, the deficit was 181. We took it down to 70 million, which was a 66% improvement. We were certainly making strides, certainly heading towards a surplus. In fact, in 2019-2020, we did a 6-month report. We announced it in the House that based on our projections, let me back up further. The budget statement of 1920 estimated a surplus. It was a surplus for the first time. It would have been a surplus for the first time in over 20 years. And 6 months later, we announced in the House that based on our projections that we were still in good position, and our projections still showed that we were on target to meeting a surplus. And literally, I think it was August of 2020, we received the default notice of Morgan's Point, forced with no other option but to borrow an additional $200 million to meet that obligation. And certainly we then were unable or did not meet the projected surplus by the end of that fiscal year.
Okay, thank you.
But I think the key piece to that is we certainly, by all means, by all metrics, for the first 2 to 3 years, the trajectory was upwards. And so as the Premier mentioned in the budget speech, we did it before and we will do it again. We will remain focused on the task at hand, and we will continue to maintain fiscal prudence so that we meet our projections and are in a position to reduce the debt in 3 years' time.
All right. Over to you, Dwayne.
Thank you for that. I appreciate that overview. Just to get a bit more information, because, you know, a lot of people who have this particular budget aligned with the fact that it is a bit lacking on detail when it comes to a full-scale kind of point-by-point plan on how the debt will actually be tackled. So how would you alleviate some of those fears for people who, you know, have that sort of thing in the back of their head?
Yeah, great question. My response really would be, in the budget speech, there was a key line in there where I think in several occasions the Premier announced that the government is focused on executing the initiatives of its economic recovery plan. And so for those who perhaps are disappointed that the details or the level of detail they were looking for was not in the budget, I would say to you that is because the level of detail has already been laid out in our economic recovery plan. We have laid out 31 initiatives, priority initiatives, that we are focused on, whether it be the vertical farming, whether it be medical tourism, whether it be the regulatory sandbox. We've completed some of those initiatives, which has already brought fruit or contributed to our economy, i.e. the economic investment certificate. So there's a number of things, and those are just the initiatives, but also within the economic recovery plan are guardrails. So measures where, you know, on a best case and worst case scenario, where we expect to be throughout the next 3 years. And so again, for anyone that perhaps was disappointed in the level of details, I would say it is because it's already been laid out in our economic recovery plan.
Okay, and moving into just, you mentioned the surplus that was charted 3 years from now.
Yeah.
There is skepticism based on the fact that we see that, you know, the government is forced, you know, against their will regarding COVID spending to continue to, you know, spend out. And we see, you know, a 10% reduction in one of the government's revenue sources, which obviously I can understand the logic behind it. But if the government is indeed in that amount of debt and having an issue when it comes to paying its current bills with the revenue that it's making, how can we have faith that a surplus will be achieved with, you know, a 10% reduction in you know, TCD licensing and also unprecedented COVID spending?
Yeah, okay, great question. So there's a couple of things. As I mentioned earlier, there's an opportunity, or the difficult thing about putting a budget together is finding the balance. And so you'll also note that the Fiscal Responsibility Panel recognizes that austerity measures cannot be the answer going forward. And so quite rightly, there has to be opportunities of growth and investment and the like. I can say that in this fiscal year, this upcoming fiscal year, much of the increase in revenue is based on an improvement in our tourism season. So certainly, if you compare our 2020 tourism season, which was all but, you know, next to nothing, a gradual improvement in 2021, and our early projections of tourism this upcoming year is significantly improved from 2021, particularly with our expected cruise ship passengers. And so we'll continue to put measures in place. One of the other things that we're going to be focused on is an investment in IT, because we recognize that although we want to maintain, or we're projecting to maintain, a relatively stable in expenses, part of that is the ability of finding efficiencies through technology and utilizing it to get the best buck for taxpayer dollar, bang for taxpayer dollar.
Okay. Thank you for that answer. I know we got a break coming up, so I'll probably just ask the question and you can think about it on break.
Okay.
So you mentioned the tourism product.
Mm-hmm.
And, in this particular budget, there was very light amounts of detail on, the Southampton Princess, deal or how that will be reopened. Now, obviously, I don't want you to get into details because legally, obviously, it's still being negotiated probably.
Mm-hmm.
But just if you could shine some light on that because, 700 plus jobs are relying on it and a lot of people are nervous because it was a little bit of detail in there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sure, I can answer it before or after the break.
Best to answer the after the break because there's no way you can be able to answer that within 1 minute.
Agreed.
So we'll go to break and then we'll come back with you, MP Joshay Adams.
Come and engage your senses, compete for fantastic prizes, and think outside the box as you discover Hamilton. The City of Hamilton is delighted to announce that its citywide scavenger hunt is back by popular demand and will take place March 11th and 12th. The City Scavenger Hunt is a fun-filled, educational, and contactless event. Registration for the event is now open. To learn more, go to the city's website at cityofhamilton.bm. We look forward to uncovering Hamilton's treasures with you.
The family farmers who own Welch's insist on making 100% grape juice with no added sugar, colors, or flavors. At harvest time, they pick Concord and Niagara grapes at the peak of their flavor and deliver them within hours to be fresh pressed into delicious Welch's 100% grape juice. Rich in antioxidants, our grape juice adds bold flavor and a nutritional boost to your diet. Visit Welch's.com for healthy recipes.
Pleased to bring you this AccuWeather.
AccuWeather, the world's weather leader. Forecasters and meteorologists who thrive on the new technology that can help you chart your day. From St. George's to Somerset, sunshine to severe weather. With digital Doppler radar, AccuWeather helps you stay on top of your day. Proudly brought to you by BF&M. AccuWeather only on ZBM TV9, where community comes first.
This AccuWeather report is brought to you by the BF&M Insurance Group.
You're locked to Power 95, Bermuda's big station at 94.9 FM, a Bermuda Broadcasting Company station.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Gray Miners with your top stories to the hour, brought to you by Butterfield.
Are you the next Butterfield undergraduate scholarship recipient? Receive up to $30,000 US per year for up to 4 years toward your undergraduate education. For more details and to apply today, visit www.butterfieldgroup.com. The Bank of N.T. Butterfield & Son Limited is licensed to conduct banking business by the Bermuda Monetary Authority.
The opposition's official reply to the national budget is set to be delivered by opposition leader Cole Simons in the House of Assembly tomorrow. One person who will be closely watching the reply will be the PLP backbencher Joshay Adams. Mr. Adams, who is also the chairman of the Bermuda Economic Development Corporation, talked about the budget during an interview with Bermuda Broadcasting News and said he was anticipating details from the opposition reply. The City of Hamilton is inviting the public to bring their ideas to the table to bid for a new food concessions stand in Northeast Hamilton. The RFP is open to all local entrepreneurs seeking to set up a concession at the Dr. E.F. Gordon Square at the junction of Dundonald and Court Street. Lorna Hayward, the city's vendor and retails coordinator, explained that the proposals will be assessed on a case-by-case basis and will only consider food concessions that do not compete with nearby existing businesses. All proposals must be submitted by email to lhayward@cityhall.bm no later than 5 p.m. on Monday. Rent for the facility will run at $800 per quarter. And those were your top stories to the hour, brought to you by Butterfield.
94.9 Bermuda. Our 95.
Now back to Motion to Adjourn with MP Chris Famous and Dwayne Robinson.
Yes, and welcome back. And just MP Adams, you're on the floor. You have a question from the member from the opposite side.
Yeah, thanks for having me. In terms of the Fairmont Southampton Princess, that is an interesting topic, certainly at the forefront of a lot of people's minds, and quite rightly, because of the anticipated economic impact that it will have. Both the negative impact that the closure had, the loss, I think the overall hospitality industry lost about 700 jobs last year. And it's no surprise that a significant amount of that are employees at Fairmont Southampton Princess. And so we want, as a government, to get our people back to work. And even at the completion of the renovations, be able to enhance our tourism product. So absolutely, the Fairmont Southampton the Fairmont Southampton is a national priority of the government. And we recognize that part of the difficult challenge that we are in is we are sort of pushing ourselves out of the competitive framework due to our legislation in regards to concessions. So in terms of how do we improve or make improvements towards our tourism product, it's both increasing the number of beds on island, but also increasing the quality of beds on island. And so we need to be able to create an environment that is attractive to outside foreign investment so that we can enhance the tourism product here in Bermuda. I will also say in regards to the tourism also is the focus, and this is also listed in our economic recovery plan, is the focus to launch casinos on island. And so again, it's about diversifying, enhancing our tourism product, but also increasing beds because quite rightly in the Turks and Caicos made similar investments, was able to extend their concessions and to be able to attract foreign investment. They now have expanded the beds and can hold a larger majority and be able to capture a significant segment of the tourism market. And so that is the sort of goal that this government is looking to take, is being able to basically become more conducive to the competition and be able to attract foreign investment so that overall we present a quality and enhanced tourism.
All right, thank you. I'm gonna give you something to elaborate on.
Mm-hmm.
Part of any budget, family budget, business budget, government budget, is what are you doing for those who are in challenging positions, whether it be permanently challenged or temporarily challenged. What is the government doing? For those who don't know, what is the government doing to help those, to bring some sort of relief to those that need it? Whether they be individuals or businesses or so on.
Yeah, great question. So that is always the tricky thing, and I think that was sort of what I was alluding to earlier, is that we would always love to do more, right? But it's recognizing the fact that we have targets to meet, and so we have to meet those targets. But whenever there's capacity to provide relief to our people, the people of Bermuda, this government has always demonstrated that it will do so. And so this upcoming fiscal year puts us just above where we originally had projected to be, but recognizing that at the same time there has to be a balance. We need to provide relief to those, particularly those that need it the most. And so we were happy to issue a 10% reduction in private car licensing fees That comes about because it was an initiative to see how do we provide relief to a wider range of people, recognizing that, people find it a bit irritant to have to pay these fees on their birthday, but nonetheless, we want to be able to provide relief of that. But also payroll reductions for workers making less than $96,000. It has been, and I believe it was in the 2017 platform, that it has been an absolute goal of this government, and it will be achieved to have anyone earning $48,000 or less have to pay zero payroll tax. And so this year, we've made a step in the right direction. We've reduced those persons, but also anyone earning under $96,000 will see a reduction in the payroll tax. And these are some of the reliefs that we're able to issue while still being in a position to make our targets. One of the things that we're also proud of is the fact that no across-the-board increases in taxes, right? Because a large percentage of the revenue is not going to come from an increase in tax, but overall the increase of expected increase in tourism performance. And so it's an interesting argument, and I would like, certainly not for Mr. Robinson, but it would be interesting to see how the One Bermuda Alliance in their reply tomorrow tackles this, because as we know, they are adamant to reduce the travel authorization fee, which we have as earning approximately $22 million. And so the question then becomes, if they're getting rid of that, what taxes and fees are they prepared to increase? So we're certainly looking forward to that debate tomorrow. We're still going to be offering an extension or having an extension of the supplementary unemployment benefit. That is really, really key. I mean, we recognize particularly those in the hospitality industry are still feeling the impact. We also recognize the unemployment levels are still not where we would like for them to be. And so we as a government need to be there for our people. And so it was almost a no-brainer for us to continue with the supplemental unemployment benefit. But the hotel industry, sticking with the hospitality, I know the hotel industry and the restaurant industry have asked for, and we have delivered, an extension of their tax relief to help them best prepare and for the upcoming tourism season. And then one of the things that, James, one of the things that I love about politics is that certain things can be really important to some people and not important to others, and then it be completely vice versa. And what I mean is, I'll give you an example. We are now solidifying and clarifying a lot of legislation, but ultimately, under no uncertain terms, we'll be offering land tax relief for the charitable sector. And the reason why I say that is because some people may, it means nothing to them. Okay, fine, thumbs up, great, wow. But I can tell you that I have constituents who that they will tell you that is a significant deal, and they are absolutely over the moon and excited that the government has decided to do this. And so it's one of those things where, the people have asked for, and the government has found the capacity and is looking to do it. And I think one of the other things, finally, is the one-time private pension withdrawal. So there are some people who tax relief is great and supplemental unemployment benefit is fine, but they have bills today. They have obligations to meet today. And so the government has or will allow for a final $6,000 withdrawal from the pension to allow people to be able to meet that immediate obligation that they may have. And sort of to circle back and sort of loop this all together, again, the focus is meeting our targets, but still finding the balance to provide the relief to the people that need it the most. And one of the great things that we're proud of to have included, for example, is the fact that in 6 months' time, we will be reviewing our performance, and should we be ahead of schedule, the government has decided that it would take a portion of that savings and apply it to the duty to fuel so that we reduce the electricity cost for all citizens in Bermuda. And so, again, this sort of reiterates or hammers home my point that when there is capacity to provide additional relief to our citizens, we will do so, recognizing that we still must meet our targets.
All right, thank you. I'll turn it over to Dwayne before he get in a question before our next break.
Thank you, and thank you for that. And I can assure you that a lot of those measures have support from our side as well, definitely. So one thing that is of real importance to many is the Tax Reform Commission. And, as we know, this has been kind of recommended by the Fiscal Responsibility Panel for 2 years. And, we have something being put together now, but it is a concern as we have, a wage commission as well, and people feel as though they haven't gotten much results from that particular commission either. So how can you reassure the people of Bermuda that this particular tax reform commission will, reap rewards in a sustainable and, suitable measure of time?
Yeah. It's an interesting, it's a relevant question, but a difficult question to answer because of the fluid nature that we're currently in. What I can say is tax reform is necessary. We must look at our taxation system from both must look at our taxation system domestically, and as I said earlier, really look at areas of increasing efficiencies. And so that is the task of the Tax Reform Commission. And so, again, it's just a simple, difficult one to answer because at the moment it's so fluid that there aren't any real concrete answers that I could really say.
Okay, understood. And just moving into the necessary expansion of our workforce or of our population. Obviously, this is politicized, so I'm going to stay out of the politics side of it. But we all can agree that, we need an increase in population and taxpayer base. In this particular budget statement, there wasn't a huge amount on any upcoming immigration policies or any sort of roadmap to either enticing Bermudians to return home to work or enticing foreign workers to come and invest or create businesses or whatnot. So, if I could get a bit of insight from you on, what the government's plans may be in that regard to kind of broaden our taxpayer base.
All right, so we're going to go to break, and then MP Joshay Adams will give that answer when he comes back.
Say hello to TikTok and YouTube. The phone bundle that gives you the most now has even more. Get the new Digicel Prime Plus bundle today and get up to 90 gigabytes of extra data for YouTube and TikTok for free. But that's not all. When you sign up today, you can get an iPhone of your choice for as low as $0. That's more apps, more data, more everything with Digicel. Visit our retail store today. Digicel, better together.
Most of us identify pasta with the joys of Italian food, the most popular cuisine on the planet. After all, pasta is the staple food of Italy, where hundreds of varieties are enjoyed daily. While traveling in the Far East, the founder of the Explore Cuisine company was surprised and impressed by the variety of exotic pastas he found, sampled, and enjoyed there, and resolved to bring this knowledge back to enrich the cuisine of the West. This month, we're featuring delicious Explore Cuisine organic mung bean fettuccine and black bean spaghetti. Lindo, why go anyplace else?
Now back to Motion to Adjourn with MP Chris Famous and Dwayne Robinson.
And we're back. MP Joshe Adams, the floor is still yours.
Yeah, so let me first recognize absolutely that, and I think both sides of the aisle are in agreement that increasing the resident population is a must. We are now in our fourth consecutive year with deaths exceeding births in this country. And so we must create jobs both through domestic and foreign investment. One of the things that we have implemented, which is part of our economic recovery plan, is the economic investment certificate. Also, the temporary residency certificate, which has helped stem the tide, has helped to provide or contribute to our economy, which has helped to bring bodies on the island. We've also continued with the extension of the new hire relief. And so it is incentivized businesses on island to, provide tax relief for those who increase their job levels. And so it is sort of the attempt is for it to be within their best interest to hire Bermudians, to attract Bermudians to come on island and make jobs available. So there's a number of things that we have to do in terms of increasing the resident population. And we'll continue to look at opportunities and work as best we can.
Okay. Any other questions, Dwayne?
Just obviously, and I want to frame this carefully because I don't want it to come across in a wrong way, but there has been a bit of uncertainty regarding the resignation of the former finance minister. Could you assure the public, that these goals that the government has laid out in this budget are still very much achievable, without his expertise?
Absolutely. One of the narratives that I'm almost keen to dispel is that sort of the significant or the projected significant decline in expertise because of the resignation of the former minister. I certainly will say that I'm proud of the Progressive Labour Party's track record since 1998. The Progressive Labour Party has been strong and had sound fiscal policies before Curtis Dickinson, and it will have sound and solid fiscal policies after Curtis Dickinson. Not to diminish in any sort of way the contribution that the former minister made, but I certainly do not want to believe that any particular... I'm basically saying that the Progressive Labour Party is bigger than any one specific individual. And I will also then finish it by adding that certainly he held the reins and contributed significantly. And so in no way, shape, or form will we diminish that. But there was a team. There still is a team. There's a group of people who work behind the scenes, whether they be public officers or within our side of the aisle, who work collaboratively on the execution of our fiscal policies. And so we continue to move forward. The former minister is still within the government. He still has agreed and will be prepared to offer counsel. And so we are confident that we will execute our plan. We did before, and we will do it again.
Okay. So let me ask a question before we start to wrap up, MP Adams. One of the things we have to do in this country is to educate ourselves and our people about our ever-changing economic realities.
Mm-hmm.
And in doing so, we transform this narrative that, let's be frank, black people don't understand business, or the PLP is business unfriendly. There was this narrative pre-1998, when the PLP get in, they're going to seize people's businesses, They're going to run businesses out of the country, all this crap, right? And post 1998, we've actually seen a rapid growth, some would say too rapid growth, in international business. We've had fluctuations since 2007, so on and so forth. That's one component of our economy. But we have a domestic economy, where, meaning to say the retail sector, the service sector, so on and so forth. One of the things we do have to do as a government, no matter who's the government, is that we have to make things. International business isn't reliant on Bermuda government to survive. Right? Let's be real. It's the domestic economy that's reliant on business, reliant on government to put policies in place that allow them to do what they got to do. In your capacity as the BEDC chair, what is the government doing to stimulate and, I don't want to say protect, but to provide some sort of cover for domestic businesses?
Excellent. So, absolutely. So, let's remove COVID for a second, right? COVID for the better part of 2 years has sort of engulfed almost every conversation. I want to just remove COVID for a second and say that the Bermuda Economic Development Corporation constantly stands in and supports financially these businesses, first and foremost, several times, or I shouldn't say several times, but whether it be grants, whether it be loans, direct loans, or whether it be guarantees of loans. I think for the most part, that is what people learn to expect from the Bermuda Economic Development Corporation. But there's other things that they do as well. They issue vendors license, so they are constantly working with our vendors. I think just before Christmas, they had a Court Street vendor market. They often have vendor activities within the economic empowerment zones. And so it is, recognizing that particularly, and now I'm going to pull back COVID, particularly in this market where we've seen an increase in the entrepreneurial spirit. So we talk about unemployment rates being where they are, but then individuals will take that bull by the horn, reach out to the BEDC and say, hey, listen, I can make some soap, or I can make some lotions and skin products or T-shirts, or, I have great business ideas. And it is the role of the BEDC, facilitated with the support of the government, to help these businesses thrive in this economy. But it's not just business development either. It's economic development as well. So it is recognizing within our EEZs, making them hubs or centers that help to generate economic activity. We want people to visit these EECs, spend their monies in the EEZs, and so not only does the quality of the products and services have to be, but we want to create an energy and a vibe in those particular areas, and so that we can encourage people to come in there and shop. And so the BEDC is constantly working. They're now focused on their 4 or 5 objectives that are listed in the Economic Recovery Plan, and they remain diligent and willing to help create and sustain and grow the economic ecosystem or entrepreneurial ecosystem within Bermuda.
Okay, thank you. And we're coming to the top of the hour. We can take one last break, and then, Dwayne, you can ask your final question.
We love flying kites, but it's important to fly kites safely. Belco invites all P1 and P2 students to enter its annual kite safety poster competition. The best overall poster winner will receive a $500 toy voucher and a $500 Belco voucher. There are also prizes for the most beautiful poster and the best kite safety message. The deadline for entries is March 25th. For full details and kite safety tips, visit belco.bm.
Dream big with Digicel Business and Microsoft. Finally, a cloud solution that gives your business the edge without breaking the bank. No upfront costs and simple to set up. Making the move to cloud has never been easier. Grow your business with a scalable, secure, and affordable solution. Dream big with cloud. Contact us today for a free assessment at 500-5600 or visit digicelbusiness.com.
Now back to Motion to Adjourn with MP Chris Famous and Dwayne Robinson.
And we're back, and we're wrapping up. And Dwayne, I will give you the honor of having the last question of the day.
Thank you. So, I appreciate you coming on the show, MP Adams, and being open and transparent in your answers. So, just one last final question as far as, I know you just mentioned a few things with the BEDC. And I just wanted to kind of ask, in this budget scenario, if you can outline just some of the things that small businesses are getting assisted in, just for any entrepreneur or any person that wants to start a business or anyone who is currently in business, just so they can know.
Yeah, so for instance, I would encourage anyone to come and even if you just have an idea, to visit the BEDC. The BEDC has the mechanism to even assist people prepare a business plan. And so a lot of people, and I'm even going back to my banking days. I'm recognizing the time, guys. I'm going to try to be fast. But going back to my banking days, a lot of people had ideas, but they just didn't have the knowledge on how to articulate it and structure it in such a way that can then be taken forward. And so the BEDC has that capacity. So we're starting from an idea. They can help you develop a business plan. Then, as I mentioned, the three options, the BEDC has an option to do direct lending. So they can lend directly to the individual. They can guarantee a loan through the bank. Or they can even, in some instances, be able to provide grants. So that's the financial support there. But the BEDC also has the capacity, and they have a register of people who have come to them and said, you know what, and I'll sort of simplify it and say similar to a Shark Tank approach. So they have people who are prepared to invest in good ideas. And so they are prepared to read sound business plans and should they choose to, be in a position to invest in those companies and watch those companies grow. So literally through the BEDC, we can get from an idea to a significant investment and watch that entrepreneurial spirit grow. And so there's also classes that they do quite regularly in terms of how to run a business, management skills, HR lessons that, we need to learn, how to develop a product and increase efficiencies and the like. So there's the classes, there's the potential investments, there's the direct lending. It all sits within the BEDC. And so I encourage anyone, even if it's an idea, that is what they are there for. And they have the support of the government to see those dreams come true.
All right. Thank you, MP Adams.
Thank you.
As stated, one of the goals of this show has always been to educate our people. And with that being said, this isn't your last, this will not be your last visit. Because as you all have set a goal to say 6 months from now, you want to see how you're doing.
Yeah.
And we may ask you back here in a quarter time to say, hey, what's the trajectory? Because one of the things that the people don't like is being caught by surprise.
Indeed.
And it's better for anybody who's in position of leadership to say, listen, we was building on a straight wicket, but this googly came along and we got a little sidetracked. Or somebody built a googly and we was able to slap a six. Right? And one of the things, Dwayne is, he is very articulate, and he can recognize when things are going in a good direction, bad direction, whatever. And it's good for you and him to have these conversations and the people to hear us, because the show is structured that we don't really take calls per se, but trust me, thousands of people are listening to us right now.
Well, listen, guys, thank you for having me. I am one of those thousands. I don't listen every week, but I certainly do make a point to chime in and listen to you guys regularly. Again, from our perspective as a government, we recognize that an informed Bermudian is a better Bermudian. And so by all means, if that means that I need to come back more regularly to keep us abreast as where we are economically, I'm all for it.
Thank you.
In the end, we're in it. The reason we do this service is for the betterment of Bermuda as a whole. And so, like I said, I'm all for it.
Any closing remarks, Dwayne?
Well, I just want to thank you again, and I want to say that, yes, Westminster doors somewhat pit the opposing sides against each other, but with the state of the island, battling a pandemic, we all want to see this government succeed, right? Because at the end of the day, we all live here, we all reap those rewards if we get a thriving economy going. So we may be tough with our questions, and it may be, stern in that regard. But all in all, we have to hope and support and hope that you guys are going to come through on that, because a lot of Bermudians, they need that relief, and this pandemic isn't going away. So I really wish you guys the best of luck, and I hope that, like MP Famous said, that you guys clap a 6.
Thank you very much.
Hey, Dwayne, we got that on recording, talking about wishing us the best of luck, But MP Adams, just how's your family? I forgot to ask. How's your family doing?
Man, listen. My daughter goes 1 tomorrow, so needless to say, the energy and the excitement within my household is quite high. It certainly will be a lively weekend. So the family is great. Appreciate you asking, man.
Yeah, because like you and Dwayne are both new fathers. So
okay, there you go. Absolutely. Yeah, she goes 1 tomorrow, man. Time flies.
Okay.
Well, I hope she has a great birthday.
Thank you.
Yeah, so next week, we're not sure what we're going to have next week, but we'll let you know. But on the 17th, we'll have Honorable John Barrett back again, talking about Bermuda's political history. And as I said previously, not everyone gets to hear the show while we're live. So now we have all our shows. We are putting all our shows on YouTube. So just go to Motion to Adjourn. Go on YouTube and go to Motion to Adjourn radio show, and you'll see a whole lot of our shows. So with that, Dwayne, you want to close us out? Any closing remarks, Brother Dawn?
No, I'm good.
All right. Thank you to Brother Dawn.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Dwayne, close us out, please.
Yes, and thank you so much for that. It was a great night, guys. And Motion to Adjourn will be adjourned until next Thursday, the 10th.
And you have been listening to Motion to Adjourn with MP Chris Famous and Dwayne Robinson.
You're locked to Power 95, Bermuda's big station at 94.9 FM, a Bermuda Broadcasting Company station.
Yo, drop it. Taking it from the streets. All over the streets.
Back to the blazing hip-hop and R&B.
Here's another nice joint.
On Power 95, blazing hip-hop, R&B, and reggae.